Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, December 9th, a little after about 5:18 p.m. at Wausau City Hall. And with the quorum of members present, I'll be calling the Finance Committee to order. Item number 1 on our agenda is public comment on agenda items and reading of the City of Wausau public comment statement. Is anybody here this evening for public comment on any items on the agenda? Okay, not seeing anything. We will move on to item number 2. Consideration of the minutes of the preceding meetings. That is November 25th, 2025, our regular Finance Committee minutes. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion from Watson, second. Second from Greiner. Discussion. Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action. Item A, approving the lead service line replacement LSLR reimbursement resolution for the 2026 Safe Drinking Water Loan and Principal Forgiveness. And I see we have Eric in the house. If anybody has any questions on this, we have had these resolutions come to us previously for the lead service line replacement program, so this is part of the process. Alder Tierney.
Are we pretty positive that we're going to receive these loans and grants? Because we're funding that until this stuff comes through, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, we have their draft list right now. With the funding, we're expecting the final. It's my understanding that the EPA allocated an additional 40 or 45 million to Wisconsin for 2026. And so, but yes, we're confident we're going to get these numbers the way that they're laid out. Very similar.
45 million when you look at how much we want a loan.
Well, I mean, I think that they were allocated like 82 million, the additional 45 million. So now we're up over $100 million for the state of Wisconsin. The big players for 2026 were Racine, Wausau, and Milwaukee. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pays to get in early.
It does.
All right, any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the reimbursement resolution.
Okay, a motion from Watson, a second. Second from Tierney. Any other discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Thanks, Eric. Item B, extending the life of tax increment district number 7 for affordable housing. And we had a discussion on this at our last Finance Committee meeting, and then we tabled it until we could get a little bit more information and let it go through the Economic Development Committee. And now we are with it back in our midst. So, and does anybody have any, I guess we don't need to go through the PowerPoint again, but does anybody have any questions specific to the
I did add another item in the PowerPoint to show the impact to the general fund over the last few years to show, its steady growth. So if you did elect to choose option 3, which would be to keep the district open one more year for affordable housing and use the $355,000 for the 27 budget, you can see that would not create any challenges for the general fund reserves. And that, I think, was the last slide. Yes, the last slide.
Yeah.
So you can see it. We're up to 14.4 million.
And I see with the graph, we've had steady growth
Yes.
of the general fund since at least 2016. The Economic Development Committee, I believe they approved going with option 3, which is to keep the TID open for one more year, collect that affordable housing increment, and then use the general fund to cover what we would not be able to use because of the with the TID closing and the
Yes.
levy.
And then the only other thing I would add is the resolution is in your packet as well that kind of defines what you would use the funds for. So, and it's basically for affordable housing, including the development of infill sites, single-family homes, and multi-family housing units. So pretty general in nature.
'Cause we don't have a specific use for it
Right.
yet at this point in time.
Correct.
All right, any discussion? Alder Greiner?
I have a question for the finance director. So, one, please pardon me, my voice is shot, so please bear with me.
Do you need a?
No, ma'am, I'm okay. So, it's in regards to option 3 on the for the TID. If we did choose to leave it open for a year, we would be able to transfer the $350,000 out of our reserves. Based on the newest slide that you've added to this, would we be able to transfer out of our general fund the $425,000 that we would be collecting from the TID if we were to choose to close it, as opposed to the 350? Where did the 350, the 355, 158 come from, as opposed to that? No, you're fine. Go ahead.
So the difference between the 424 and the 355 is the pilot payment that we get from the state for the computer aid and the,
Personal property aids.
and the personal property, yes, thank you. So that is going to be available regardless. It would just be the 355 that we would need.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
So we would still receive those
yes,
state aids, personal property aid and computer aid from the state.
Yes.
So in essence, it would be $424,000.
Yep.
Okay.
that would be available for the 27 budget.
Okay. Okay. If anybody doesn't have any further questions on it, I guess I would entertain a resolution. Alder Watson?
I move to extend the life of TID 7 for affordable housing.
Okay, are you, do you have a
For option
specific
3.
option in mind?
Yeah, option 3. So.
Option 3? Okay. Which would be to use the general fund for the 2027 budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Greiner. Any discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, 3 in, 1 opposed. Alder Tierney. And it carries. Item C, reviewing the closure of tax increment District 6. We've got a presentation in our packet on the closeout summary for TID 6. TID 6 closed out this last year, or this
Yes.
year. So-
In 25.
Five.
Yep, and so we had our audit. By state law, when you close a TID, you have to have an audit. We've submitted that to the state of Wisconsin. I just wanted to, kind of provide a final report for you. If you recall, you did allocate 1 year of increment. Certainly when a TID closes, it doesn't usually tie out so that, like that last year of increment, the expenses exactly match the increment that comes in, because the increment is based on the value of the district, not necessarily the expense that you have. So based on that, we had about $1.4 million in that year before the extension that now we need to refund to the overlying taxing jurisdiction. So the 1.4 million will get distributed as is noted on the pie chart, with a check going to Marathon County for $257,000, a check going to NTC for $75,000, a check going to the Wausau School District for a little over $470,000, and then the city gets to retain $595,000. So we'll be doing that final accounting before year end. And then just kind of covering the projects that the district tackled during its life. It obviously funded the Thomas Street reconstruction. It funded about half of the First Avenue reconstruction, 14th Avenue, Elm Street to Callan from 14th to 12th Avenue, Sherman Street, various roads out by the hospital, Pine Ridge, West Ridge, the final overlay of 20th Avenue, the Highway U Westwood Drive improvements. It did asphalt overlay and concrete improvements, and it also did that little section of the trail between Thomas and Riverside Park, which is on the front cover. So it did a lot of infrastructure projects for the city to support development. From a redevelopment standpoint, it assisted with redeveloping that area west of Fleet Farm. That property had a lot of difficult soils and things that needed to be cleaned up. We provided some support for the housing, the new housing along Thomas Street. We provided some support for 17th Avenue redevelopment, mainly in like turning lanes and things like that, and some small business loans. And then we also did the affordable housing. So the project really, you know, when you look at it, has made a huge difference from an infrastructure standpoint on the west side of the city of Wausau. Its base value started at $75,491,600. The growth was $189,228,100, and then the final value $264,719,700. So, you know, when the schools and the county and the tech were doing their budget this year for 26, that new growth was available to them. I think people will be happy with their tax bills this year. I don't know. We did send out, they're in being processed for mailing, and we did send out Facebook saying that they could go online and see them. But I know I was just down at the GFOA conference last week, Thursday and Friday, and a lot of communities are having way different kind of tax bills than we are this year. So I think closing that district helped make those differences.
We had to remember last year's tax bills.
Yeah, that's true. So that's really just wanted to cover that.
Okay. Well, that's great. It's great to see, you know, that over the life of the TID, the amount of new value that was created. So, and the volume of infrastructure. Infrastructure gets kind of built piece by piece by piece. So you really don't realize that full impact, and so you see that closeout
Right.
with everything enumerated on there.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay. This is just for information,
Yeah,
so
just for information.
we will just file that. So thank you, Mutt. Item D, approving the city's waiver of right to repurchase 130 North First Street, Sunbelt Refugees LLC, Whitewater Music Hall. And quite a bit of information in our packet. The Whitewater Music Hall has been for sale, and it looks like there's an offer on the property. And from the previous loan that we provided, a construction loan that we provided the owners, we do have right of first refusal on this property. So, any questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. I think staff is recommending that we do not exercise our right of first refusal. Is that correct? So, we waive the right. We waive the right. So, waiving the right means that we would not wish to purchase the property. Okay, Alder Greiner?
Yeah, so my question is, where are we at in the process of recovering the $117,000 for the loan that we initially granted them for the initial construction? Are we still waiting for them to sell and close that out before we recoup that 117, or what is the status of that right now?
Yes, thank you. That's a good question. Typically, we get paid out at loan closing, and this is one of the stipulations that in order for the loan to close, we have to waive this right and then we're able to move on to closing. My understanding is supposed to happen by the end of the year, and then we'll recoup our money.
Okay.
I'd approve our waiver of right to repurchase.
All right, motion from Watson to waive our right,
I second.
and second from Tierney. Any discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Well, hope that sale goes through. Item E, accepting funding from the Judd S. Alexander Foundation for Wausau Police Department for one downtown officer position. And we do have the police chief here. If anybody has any questions on it, we've had this come through committee before. Previously, this is for our downtown officers that primarily deal with issues in the downtown district that happen on a regular basis. So, does anybody has any questions? Otherwise, we can entertain a motion to accept the funding. Alder Watson?
I'd move to approve accepting the funding.
Okay, a motion from Watson, and second? Second from Greiner? Not hearing anything, or any other discussion? Not hearing anything, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? That carries. Item F, authorizing the execution of airport ground lease, Matthew and Karen Gast. And this was on our last agenda, but we pulled it and moved it to this one to get a little bit of extra work done to the ground lease document. Basically, the parties that we will be leasing the property to are going to be financing their airport hangar, so we needed to get some of that wording into the lease document. We do have our airport manager here, John. If anybody has any questions, otherwise, I'll entertain a motion on the ground lease. Alder Greiner? Okay, a motion from Greiner, a second.
Second.
Second from Watson. Discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And it carries. Approving credit agreement with Judd S. Alexander Foundation to borrow up to $250,000 for the redevelopment of 201 North First Avenue, former MBX property. And this also was on our last agenda. We tabled it because we wanted a little bit more information. Hopefully, there was additional information in the packet. Hopefully, your questions are answered. We do have the mayor here if anybody has any additional questions on this loan. So I'll entertain a motion on the. Alder Watson?
Oops. I just have a question. I just didn't know if some of the concerns that we had raised, I know the letter sort of vocalized exactly how the foundation felt, but I didn't know if we had some resolution with that. Like some of the concerns of being able to develop the property and the time frame given, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Just quick couple of notes, and Randy and staff are here to also answer questions. So staff placed this item back on the agenda. It's in the same form that the Judd S. Alexander Foundation originally extended. No changes, no new conditions. So it remains a $250,000 forgivable loan, 0% interest for the first 3 years, self-extendable to 5 years at 5% each. So it's forgiven when the foundation is satisfied we are taking reasonable progress on redevelopment. The foundation was aware of the difficult budget decisions we faced to acquire the MBX site, and in direct response to that challenge, they generously offered this forgivable loan. So it's a continuation of their supportive partnership that we've had since their inception in 1973 and more than $55 million in local investment. So last meeting, it was a little bit of a short lead time. Staff wasn't fully prepared, so there were several legitimate questions unanswered, but the staff should be ready tonight. Most importantly, I need to be unequivocal in accepting this loan in no way commits the city to any particular redevelopment outcome, including a specific amount or type of housing. So my commitment, staff's commitment, is that the former MBX site will be redeveloped to its highest and best use. That means legally permissible, physically possible, financially feasible, maximally productive outcome that delivers the greatest long-term value to our residents, and we think affordable housing is included in that component. The Judd S. Alexander Foundation has earned our trust through decades of transformative investment in Wausau, and I recommend we accept their generous offer tonight and continue this extraordinary partnership. Thank you, and our staff is here for any questions.
Alder Watson?
So in the resolution, it still says redevelopment, so includes multi-unit affordable housing, so that could be one of the options, but it may not be if our use, because you were sort of mentioning our uses could be different than multi.
Well, it's a site that is flexible, that could have multiple components, and Randy's got some ideas.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So looking at the site, overall site acreage is about 5.9 acres. You lose some of that based on the floodplain where it drops off to the river, but overall we're looking at about 3.75 of developable acreage that's above the riverbank. Getting setbacks and everything in play, let's call it 3.5. If you look at what we've done with affordable housing projects, we did one on 0.85 acres, one on 1.15 acres. So that leaves a lot of room for multiple projects on the site. I think a good component to keep in mind with this is the 1.2, the prepayment in the agreement. So if we're moving along in the future, something comes to us where this is a perfect match for this site, isn't affordable housing, we have the opportunity to get out of this before that 3-year mark, and there's really there's no interest or anything due to the foundation. So it's a great opportunity. Obviously, affordable housing is something we need in the city. We've already started working through our due diligence on the site where we have a meeting set up, a green team meeting with the DNR set up. I think that's next week. We've been working with WEDC to find project funding for it, to be able to fund not only the demo, the trail construction, environmental cleanup, and everything else associated with it. So we're going to move forward as quick as possible. That being said, I don't know what the future holds. We do our due diligence, we work through that process, and we're bringing that back through council as we go along. Ultimately, the council will have the decision on what ends up there, what our RFP looks like. What I'm kind of envisioning with this is more of an open-ended RFP. We don't want to see industrial land use on there. That's something that the city's been working for many years, is removing industry on the riverfront. But working forward as we get through the environmental cleanup gives us an idea what we can do with the site, and working through that. Affordable housing is a good use, but not necessarily the end use. But like I say, in that prepayment, with that, it takes away any liability for the city in the long term. So sometime in the September of 2028, council may be forced with the decision, do we want to move forward or not, paying back this $250,000. Hopefully we can find a solution that includes affordable housing, mixed use housing. Maybe it's a combination of market rate as well as affordable on the project, as well as a commercial component. So a lot of options, but I think at this point, the risk is very low. Very fortunate to have foundations in our community that are willing to support us in this way. And I think from what I've seen with the agreement, I think it's something to move forward with, and we'll continue to work forward to see what we can find.
All right, Alder Tierney?
Randy? Thank you. My question is the 3-year commitment. And then we start accumulating interest at 5% per year, from what I understand. We're not going to get this project done in 3 years. We haven't even touched anything on this as far as cleanup on this project, much less construction. And we've all seen how long remediation takes. It takes a long time. So
Yeah, absolutely. I
all of a
agree
sudden
with
we
you.
start, when you start, okay, 4 years, 5%, 5 years, 10%, that's getting pretty pricey for interest rates.
And keep in mind, within the agreement, the 3 years is that we're moving forward. We don't need to have occupancy within 3 years according to the agreement, but that we're moving forward with the project.
Okay, well, what does that mean?
That's, ambiguous term in some sense,
It is.
but In my
very
experience,
ambiguous.
yep. In my experience working at the foundation, we've worked with them on many projects. Mary Ann can probably speak to it better based on her, lengthy history of working for the city and working with the foundation on some of those projects. But
Yeah, they have been very flexible. I mean, past examples would be they gave us an extension to one of our payments for another 3 years because we were, I guess, dealing with some cash flows on one of the TID districts. And then we had a $600,000 loan for redevelopment of 3rd Street houses, which was a straight out loan, and they forgave the whole thing. So when it came time to pay, they told us, you don't have to pay, it's forgiven.
Well, that's great, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen this time. There's the only thing that we know is that they're offering us a $250,000 forgivable loan if we pay it, or if we meet their criteria. And after that, we start accumulating interest. And I mean, you can read whatever you want into it, but that's what it's saying to us.
And part of this process will include us meeting with them, working with them along the process. Like I said, when we get to September of 2028, we'll have that decision in front of council at that point that they'll know where we're at with environmental. Maybe we already have a developer in the queue that's doing a LIHTC project, or they're applying to the federal and state for those LIHTC, that puts us in a position where we know we're moving forward. So this gives us really, well, not necessarily 3 years, September of 2028, 3 years or 2 years, 9 months, but it gives us an opportunity to move forward and gives us access to this capital that we'll be able to utilize for the project. And even if we don't, the project's located in TID number 8. TID number 8 has funding available that even if it weren't for this, we can use this. Obviously, we like using outside money and stacking that into the project whenever we can. But yes, it's not perfect.
Yeah, because you're saying maybe we'll have a developer. So I think that they're going to want a little bit more than maybe we'll have a developer. They want to see progress being made. And that's not substantial progress in 3 years is maybe having a developer on.
Yeah.
So I can't support this. I won't support it. It's too ambiguous. There's too many what ifs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but I would say that if we have a developer and a development agreement in place at that point, I think that's meeting the criteria that they have within this agreement. They're very reasonable to work with. I don't see any issues in my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's reading loan documents, it does give us quite a bit of flexibility, understanding that affordable housing does not necessarily mean, adhering to any federal or state programs, but could be any type of affordable type housing, even housing that meets, the missing middle would be considered affordable housing in that context. I think it's we've used these loans and the foundation previously and have had success with it. They're easy to work with, and I think it's a relatively safe bet. So, any other questions, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to approve. Okay, Alder Greiner.
Okay, so this is questions for the finance director. So if we do go through the agreement, we get the $250,000 delivered to us, that would essentially be parked in our coffers for 3 years or until we go to use it, which at whatever point, if we choose to not invest into this property as affordable housing, we can just give that right back to them, correct? And then at this 5% rate, if we were to continue doing it past that, 5% is the rate for our general obligation bonds, correct? Something? Or 3? So it would be a little bit higher than that then if we were to, okay. Just looking at the cost benefits of bonding versus keeping this if we were, okay.
Right now, is mine late? Oh, I'm sorry. Right now, TID 8, which paid for the property, is showing us a strong cash flow for future. So, we would be able to pay that back at any time, even if there was no development on that property.
So we do have an out.
Yes.
If it looks like we're not going to be able to meet the obligations, we can just repay and we're not out anything.
Right. Yep.
Alder Tierney.
Thank you. Mary Ann, question for you. When the mayor was reading his statement, He said that it was 5%. Now, does that increase then to per year, or is it straight 5% per
After
year?
5 years, right? Or after 3 years,
3.
excuse me, 3 years, yeah.
After 3 years, it goes to 5%, and then it stays at 5%?
So year 4 and year 5 would be 5%.
Years 4 and 5
Right.
or 5%.
And we would not anticipate going past that, because then we're not going to default on the loan. So we have the opportunity to self-extend it, so we can extend it unilaterally if we
Why
want.
would we want to?
For 5%?
Yeah,
That-
why
that would
wouldn't we
be
pay
a-
him back?
Why would,
Why wouldn't we just pay that back if after 3 years, we don't have an answer to what we're doing, or we don't have progress?
well, it would rely on the economic development and the finance director to make that calculation. Does it make sense to pay it immediately or to extend it for 2 years?
While we figure it out?
Excuse me? Yes.
Said, well, I mean, if we don't know what we're going to do with it after 3 years, I can't see paying interest on something for a couple of years while we try to figure it out.
No, if we're in the trying to figure it out stage, I would agree with you. Here's another commitment we've made. Strategically, we want to move industry off the river. If we put a ball bearing factory there, I would anticipate and expect and appreciate the foundation wanting their money back. So that's why there are some contingencies. We've also made a commitment that we're not going to buy and hold property long term. So if we are not putting ourselves and planning to move on these properties, if we're going to buy them in a reasonable amount of time and use it wisely, then we shouldn't be buying them at all. But we made the commitment via the TID plan, and then we purchased it, and now this is enhancement. So I think it's consistent with our strategy along the river.
Yeah. I disagree, but thank you.
Alder Watson?
I'd move to approve the agreement with the Alexander Foundation.
Okay. Is there a second? Second from Greiner. Any other last discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? One nay. Alder Tierney. It passes. 3 to 1. Item H, approving a sole source request to contract engineering professional services with Clark Dietz, Inc. for the solar array project. And this one came in late, but I think it's important that we get the sole source agreement moving, out of the way, so that we can move forward on our solar array project, because the clock is ticking on that. We've got Mr. Lindman here with any questions on this sole source. Eric will be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Alder Greiner?
So this is more so a comment than a question. So one of the issues that I had going forward with this is that whenever we put the $2.8 million into the budget, we said that we were going to be doing the solar panel array under the contingency that we would have grant funding to be able to do this, right? And our grant funding is scheduled to to get the information given back to us by May, if everything works out correctly, for the $1.18 million that we would be getting from the federal government for that as well. I understand why we need to be rushing on this, because we are looking at the July deadline for 2026 to be able to recoup the 30% tax credit back from the federal government over this. And I spoke with Director Lemon today over this, and he gave me some great information about what will happen once we reach that threshold, or if we go past that threshold. So essentially, after July 4th, there are new regulations that come into what materials we can use, what solar panels we can use, which came out of the big beautiful bill that was passed last summer. It basically says we are not allowed to use solar panels from any FEOC, which is Federal Entities of Concern, which is basically the Chinese and the Russians. So we would have to use American-made solar panels and products if we did this after, or if we started this project after or if it was begun by July 4th, excuse me, sorry. Which I understand. I mean, we should be buying American. We should be supporting, our own domestic industries in this regards. But my issue with this is we have a very well-established relationship with Clark Dietz over the program. They have worked with the city and the various committees and commissions in the past over this. But my problem with this is literally at our last meeting, we updated and voted on our procurement policy on how we would go about soliciting offers and things like this. And here we are 2 weeks later asking us to push something through without getting other opportunities for other companies or other local companies to bid on the program for us. So that's a little bit of reservation that I had with this, that and being able, or that and forcing us to go through this before we get any confirmation of whether or not we're going to be getting this $1.2 million back from our grant funding. So that's really my concern, just more so a comment. And I would say that, once again, thank you, Director Lemon, for the extra information today. It helped a lot, and I appreciate it. So,
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Alder Watson?
Move to approve the sole source request for Clark Dietz.
All right. Motion from Watson. There's a second. There's second from Greiner. Any other questions? I know it's we've Clark Dietz has been along with us for a lot of the engineering for this project through the solar array task force. So it's it would make sense to sole source them for the further engineering, because they have provided some enough support in the past that they can move forward on this on the further engineering in a timely fashion. So, any other questions? Otherwise, I will take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. 2 nays, Greiner and Tierney, and I believe that would mean if it's a tie, it fails. Is that correct? It, Okay. Do we have Ann's here, Ann Jacobson. All I know is the motion fails. I don't know what's going to happen next because it doesn't go to council. Yeah. All right. So. Okay. Well, that's the status of it. Yeah. Okay. With that, that's the last item on our agenda. A motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
A motion from Watson, second. Second from Tierney. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. We have council in about a half hour. Thank you.